one from Jeremy Grant, one from Chris Murray, one from Robert Williams. Everybody was chipping in when it came to turning the ball over. Donovan Clingan, he had 9 points, 8 rebounds, 19 points from Shaden Sharp on 4 of 9 shooting. So it wasn't the 30-point outburst, but it was still a game that you can look at and go, okay, at least you're getting me some points, right? 19 points is nothing to stick your nose up at, but I still want him to be more productive. They need him to be that go-to scorer. He's trying to show it. This was a game, though, I don't even think, even if he had it going, that they may have won because Houston was just firing on all cylinders. Drew Holiday had 13 points, 6 assists, 13 points from Jeremy Grant. Chris, 40 to 116, easily the worst loss. Score was 140 to 116, easily the worst loss of the year for the Portland Trailblazers. And after the game, apparently, for the reporters in Houston, the locker room was locked, no pun intended, for a little bit longer than normal. Obviously, they usually do like coach availability and then the locker room opens for media. But when the media went to get in, the locker room was not open as there was a player meeting that, couple players spoke up, didn't like the effort and wanted to see how to fix it. And Jeremy Grant was the reason behind it. Started that. It wasn't as like, okay, the wheels are falling off, player only meeting. It was more like, hey, this was a pretty bad performance. Let's fix this before it gets worse. This road trip hasn't been good. Let's just make sure we're on the same page. And Aaron Holiday, excuse me, Drew Holiday talked about it after the game.
What was the most frustrating part of that one, Drew?
Just didn't really seem like we got a rhythm. I guess in the first half a little bit, maybe the first quarter, but didn't seem like we got a rhythm. And I think that's frustrating where everybody's trying to do the right thing, but it's just not working.
What was the tenor of the conversation in here? You guys had the doors closed for a while. What was the
Really just to stay positive, This is the first game where we've just really gotten to ask what I think every other game we've been in. And especially on this road trip, we know that it's been a long road trip, but really just to keep our heads up, to continue to do what we're supposed to do out there on the court, and we'll be okay.
It seemed like it was well received, whoever talked or whatever.
Yeah. City Talk, Tumani, Jeremy, C Love, just giving different perspectives on what they see and honestly how to finish out the road trip. So.
Did you kind of orchestrate it?
No, it wasn't me. It was Jeremy. Yeah. I was more of an observer. Yeah.
What do you see in the? It was kind of that end of the first quarter, that 11-0 run they went on. It seems like that's when the game kind of flipped. Like, what did you see? What do you think happened?
Just sometimes the momentum hits like that. Sometimes it's kind of hard to punch back, and I think we tried, but just didn't have it. So, like I said, this is honestly, I feel like this is the first game where we didn't have it, and it'll happen like that periodically, but just to clean it up at the end of this road trip.
Do you have a sense of how you think these guys are going to respond to that on Sunday?
Yeah, I just think based off the conversation, it'll be good. Knowing it's the last game on the road trip, knowing that nobody in here likes to lose. So I think being able to have conversations like this where we're talking to each other and really becoming closer, not just on the court, but off the court is good for our team. Right?
Yep, that's true, Drew.
You know what I'm saying?
So it doesn't necessarily.
No, I don't say that.
There's so many games you never know how much do you blow one loss up. It's just one bad loss. Is that how you look at it, or do you take stock of where?
No, I think today just a part of us didn't have a rhythm, and I think that felt weird. I think that was the first time that we actually felt that. And to not have that, I think we just wanted to talk about that. But we know there's going to be a lot of games, and there's going to be games here and there where we don't play as well as we would like to. But, again, I think we played 12 games, and 11 of them, they've come down to the wire or just really been good games. So out of 12, there's one. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Pretty good.
Let's talk about
Your
it.
first double-digit loss of the season.
See what I'm saying? Yeah.
And there you hear from Drew Holiday. Seems like he knows what's going on. I don't think the wheels are falling off or anything. I think this was just a time for everyone to get together and just, hey, let's make sure we're on the same page. Make sure communication is there. Make sure that we're all moving in the same direction together. And usually I think you talk about a players only meeting and locker room close. Hey, let's hash this out. You think about the vets and everyone just speaking up, and no, you listen to Drew there. It's like, hey, City Cisico was talking, and Caleb Love got in there as well. So everybody got to chime in a little bit and say their piece. So that's important. That's the team hashing this out, figuring it out, and getting on the same page. And hopefully, it helps them, get a W tonight against the Dallas Mavericks team that has been struggling all season long as well. They are just 3-10 on the season, losers of 3 straight, 2-8 in their last 10. Not playing very well. Cooper Flag has had, those flashes of brilliance. I mean, you can tell why he was a top pick, but at the exact same time, he's no Luka Doncic. Unfortunately, he is no Luka Doncic for the Dallas Mavericks. He's still going to be a handful for the Blazers, and it'll be nice to see him. Right? I mean, we've all tried to watch him, but then now we get a real chance to watch what Cooper Flag looks like. But man, out of the gate, the Mavericks have not looked good. That's part of the reason that Nico Harrison was let go. Also let go because he made one of the dumbest trades in the history of the NBA. Shout out to him. All right, this is Blazers Game Day. I'm your host, Chris Burkhardt. If you want to join the conversation, 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. And of course, you can go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to head to the coach's corner, hear what Tiago Splitter had to say after that game, and continue to get you ready for Mavericks Blazers, all right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back into Blazers Game Day. It is time now to head to the coach's corner. We want to hear what Coach Tiago Splitter had to say after that Houston Rockets game. And I think you have a good idea of the demeanor Coach would have after that loss.
We couldn't. We were taking shots that they want us to take, like a lot of like floaters and mid ranges that some of the guys we shouldn't have take those shots, and they were just running at us with easy layups on the other side. So you just gotta be smart, take better shots, and do what we do. I think for a moment there we didn't, and they took advantage.
Alperin said earlier today that you're like a brother to him. What about his personality made it so you guys could mesh so much as individuals?
His willingness to learn, I would say, and be coachable, and me just being honest with him. I was always honest with him. Even when I got here, I told him, Shengun, you out of shape. You cannot eat that dessert. Stuff like that, just being honest to him.
Coach, you guys have been in so many close games. This is kind of the first one
Yeah.
that really got away from you. Is it just one of those nights, or does it raise a red flag for you? Or?
I would say not a red flag, but it's like I said, I want to compete every night, and we got out compete today. They play harder than us, and give them credit. They are a good team. This is a very good team, and we, for some reason, we didn't have it, and they won the fight.
Coach, it seems like there are a few plays every game where Shaden Sharp gets to display his playmaking ability. How much is it for you to increase that skill for him in the half court, being able to see plays and make plays like 2-3 plays ahead?
I mean, yeah, he's one of the guys that create offense for us, right? He start the engine and drive it and make the whole defense shrink. Sometimes it's time for him to go and finish. Sometimes for him to go and kick out the ball and find shooters or another driver. So I think he's doing a tremendous job. Tonight maybe wasn't his best night, but still, he's a very valuable player for us. So.
All right, all good. Thank you.
And there you hear from Coach Splitter. And yeah, they got it out competed. And they did. The Houston Rockets came in swinging, and they took it to the Blazers real quick. And I think sometimes you need those games where you do get punched in in the chin, right? You get a fat lip, and you got to deal with that and understand how to bounce back from that. I still think that there are ways that these games can be good. There are also ways these games can be bad, but I still don't think that this game was similar to the ones we saw last year, right? Where the team showed up to the gym against Utah and just got absolutely obliterated. And the feeling was like this team's just not showing up. They don't want to be here. That wasn't the thought in Houston. It was more like nothing was clicking and Houston was just better. As long as you don't have those games where you just do not show up and you just wave the white flag as soon as the game starts, you'll continue to get better. And I think we can learn from that. But you don't have to like it. Like, you don't have to sit there and go, oh, yep, this is good for us. No, it's terrible. Like, you don't want to lose like that. But I do think this is more of one you learn from than one that you get mad about, if that makes sense. Those games last year, Memphis, Utah, like you leave those games mad, even as a fan. This game, you're just like, oh, man, just be better. Be better when you play Dallas on Sunday. I'm mad. Just every team gets a stinker now and then. This was the stinker. Let's just not do it again. So I hope they learn from it. I hope they come out better. I hope the conversation that everyone had in that locker room is good. As for, the team they got to play tonight, we talk about playing the Dallas Mavericks team that has struggled this season as well. They're not very good out of the gate. They're just 3-10 overall. Worst record in the Western Conference, right down there. Technically a half game lead on the New Orleans Pelicans, who are 2-10. Dallas in at 3-10. And they're doing this all without Anthony Davis, who news coming out just now from Shams Charania that he'll be reevaluated in another 7 to 10 days as he's dealing with a left calf strain. So he's hasn't been playing, and he won't play tonight. So no Anthony Davis. Obviously, Kyrie Irving coming back from injury that he sustained last year, and now you got a team that's struggling, and they're putting all their chips in the rookie Cooper Flag, who had 16 points in the loss against the Clippers, 133-127 in their cup game on Friday. So again, struggling team. Blazers not playing great, but hopefully you can find a way to win these type of ball games, especially when things haven't been going your way. You need to start feeling yourself again. Take this team, and that's the type of team that will give you, the medicine. I'm trying to think of the word. They'll give you the medicine to get right and come back home where you get, Phoenix at that crazy 8 p.m. tip and just feel good about yourself. Play Blazer basketball. We have seen what Blazer basketball can be. That's what we want to see. Tough, hard-nosed, both ends, nonstop, defensive pressure, 94 feet, and offense feeding off that defense, getting those big defensive rebounds, pushing out in space, getting in tempo, and running on teams. Blazers, one of the best in the league right now when it comes to how quick they can get to the other end of the basket. The tough part this team has had right now is doing that consistently and just finding their rhythm from game to game. They can find their rhythm within the game. It's about keeping that rhythm and finding it from game to game. Tonight against Dallas would be a great way to find it, keep it, and start moving forward. This is Blazers Game Day. If you want to join the conversation, 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. And of course, you can go to youtube.com, join the chat there as well. We're going to take a quick little break. When we come back, we're going to take a look at this Dallas team a little bit closer. Also, take a look at this Blazer team and things that I really, really want to see from them, because as good as there's also been bad, and I don't like the bad. What am I talking about? We'll let you know when we come back on your home, the Blazers, River City Radio, 620. Blazers versus Mavericks as the Blazers wrap up their 5 game Blazers versus Mavericks as the Blazers wrap up their 5 game road trip, a road trip that has not been friendly to them. Started in Miami where they took a loss and then it went to Orlando. That's right. I didn't want to give them the Orlando name. Orlando. Put a little accent on it, make it sound good. But they went to Orlando where they lost to the Magic. They went to New Orleans where they did pick up a much needed victory against the Pelicans. But then they went to Houston where they took a loss. They have lost 3 of their last 4. That is a 1-3 road trip thus far. And they need to find a way to bounce back against a Dallas team that, as we've said a few times already, is not playing well. Is not playing well, and you can totally take advantage of that. But for the Blazers, you have got to find your rhythm, and I think you got to find your calling card again. You got to find who you are, your identity. What is that? We had an idea what it was early on in the season, but we haven't seen it on this road trip. We absolutely have not. I mean, we saw it in Oklahoma City for the last 3 quarters. We saw it against Denver. We saw it against the Lakers in Utah, and the first matchup against the Lakers, at least. We have seen that this team can look really, really good when, all cylinders are firing. It's just a matter of getting all those cylinders to fire. Like sometimes the team looks like a car that has a spark plug issue, right? Like we are struggling to get that spark. And part of that is, keep in mind, I mean, they lost Matisse Thybulle, who has a ton of impact off the bench. They lost Caleb Love, who was that spark plug, no pun intended. He brought a ton of energy off the bench, but next man up, you can't just say that. You gotta live it. And next man up means when injuries happen, you still find a way to be you. But the Blazers have not been themselves for a few games now. So that's frustrating. When I talk about like some of the bad, that's one of the bad is the consistency factor and finding who you are. We know you want to play good defense. We know you want to put pressure on teams. Now go do it. Go do it. Let them feel uncomfortable. Far too often, especially on this road trip, these other teams have been making you feel uncomfortable. No, go out there, play your game, make teams work. We want to see this Blazer team play great defense, get out in space, take advantage of the athletes that they have. Now, we know where there are some shortcomings. Obviously, the half court game isn't what you want it to be when they have to play and slow it down. Hopefully, Scoot Henderson can help that when he comes back. Still haven't had any updates on his health as of yet. We know they need shooting. Hopefully, that helps, when you get Damian Lillard back because he's a pretty darn good shooter. But right now, it's just find your identity. That's what you need to do again. We saw it for the first, 2 weeks of the season, and you haven't seen it since. Find your identity. You keep telling us what you want it to be, but telling us and then showing us is two different things. And we have not seen it on this road trip. Not even in that win against New Orleans. That New Orleans game was like, really? Like, Sadiq Bey and Derek Queen go off for 50 plus? Like, we didn't expect that. The Blazers should have gone in there and got a dominating victory. Blazers should have got a dominating victory against the shorthanded Lakers. That didn't happen. But I think if you would have played the way that we all expected you to play, it probably would have. So that's what I mean by find your identity. Taking a look at the YouTube chat real quick. I did laugh at Tall Tim. He says, "Could someone please stop Tiago from doing a challenge in the first quarter? Has he won any yet?" I thought it was in that game against Houston. There was a call like 60 seconds into the game, and then there was a timeout. And Travis like, they're calling a timeout to challenge the call, and I believe they ended up not challenging it. But I'm like, why are we wasting a challenge in the first minute? That sounds like stupidity. I can come back from, oh, no, guess what? They got position and they got those 2 points. I'll come back from that because I got 4 quarters left to play. That is a waste of a challenge in the first quarter. I would not be doing that either, especially on the first possession. No. Bounce back. Bounce back. Tall Tim also says, great to see Sharp being aggressive, but would like to see his assists come up. Right now, he's at 1.7. Well, I don't necessarily worry about that. I'm just going to be honest. I don't look into Shaden Sharp's assist numbers because, to quote, not an assisting guard. He is a shooting guard. Let him go shoot. Let him score. That's not an assisting guard. He is a shooting guard. Let him go shoot. Let him score. That's where he's going to be most effective. Drew Holiday going to be effective in the assist game. Denny Avdia going to be effective in the assist game. Scoot, when he gets back, effective in the assist game. I'm not worried about 1.7 assists. I'm just gonna be. That's just me being honest with you. Um, just I want him to be a scorer first. Let the other guys set him up. Let the other guys set the rest of the team up, and watch what happens. I think that will be good for everyone, and I think that will allow everyone to find their best version of themselves. That's the tough part right now is just finding that, being able to go out there and be you. We've talked about that this entire off season and early on in this season is like, oh, we just need these guys to find who they are. And we want Shea to be this. We want Shea to be aggressive. We want Shea to be a go-to scorer. So yeah, that is what I want to see. I'm not worried about the assist numbers from him. I can understand why you'd want them up, but again, if everyone else does their part, then I think you're going to be just dope. You're going to be just fine. You're going to be just fine. And so that is definitely why I'm not too worried about there. And again, like Kobe Bryant said, I'm a shooting guard. The my job is in my position. So let me go do that. And yeah, I mean, he doesn't need to go get you 10 assists a game. Now there are guys like Luca and Giannis and Shea who go do that, and that's what they thrive at. But you don't need that from Shea, in my opinion. The Orb chimes in. The game versus the Rockets the other day was not a skill issue. Their heads were not on straight. Horrible passing choices and just general lazy ball handling, both of which they consistently do better. And it was a weird game. It was a weird game. I don't think it was like last year where they just didn't show up. I definitely think they just showed up, and for some reason it just wasn't locked in. And it was a weird vibe. That's for sure. And I still think there's something to learn from it. You can't repeat that type of performance, not at all. That's going to set you up for failure in the long run. You just need to be better. You can't come out and be lazy. This is the NBA, man. When you look at it on paper and you're like, okay, that Laker game you should absolutely win because they didn't have Austin Reeves, they didn't have Luca, and they didn't have LeBron. The reason you don't win is because you don't come locked in. You can't come in 99% locked in the NBA. You have to be 100% locked in. It's like any pro sport. It's the top 1% in the world. They made it to the league for a reason. They're going to find ways to beat you if you let them. But there is still talent gaps between the top end of that 1% and the bottom end of that 1%. And you got to take advantage of those things. So, yeah, the Houston game, you came in, you got punched in the mouth, and you didn't respond very well. Find ways to respond. That's what I want this identity to be. Responding to those hits. Be someone who's known for having an iron chin, right? Everyone's going to pick on the boxer who gets hit and then goes into his corner and is asking his trainer to throw in the towel. But everyone's going to respect, even if they lose, everyone's going to respect the fighter who gets hit and just keeps pushing forward. Like, I'm not going to stop, but you're going to have to knock me out. You're going to have to get the KO, but I'm just going to keep pushing. That's the fighter that everyone latches onto, becomes a fan favorite. Everyone respects because they just want to fight. They want to be in it. The Blazers need to want to be in it. That's what I think. That Houston game was just also tough. Well coached, good depth. Definitely got the talent. You could say it's not a talent issue, but I mean, the KD, Jabari tandem, Alfred Sengun, Amon Thompson, like, they got talent. They absolutely got talent. And again, a coach who knows what he's doing, continuity there, a team that has definitely gone and become much better in a short amount of time. That's what they wanted to do when they got Ime in there. The Blazers need to do that now. Tiago needs to continue to put his stamp on this thing. And this Blazer team, again, needs to just find who they want to be. They have been up and down. The consistency is not there. Find who you want to be and just full on stamp it. Full on stamp it. Let the NBA know this is who the Blazers were. Remember early on in the season, every single game the Blazers played, you had you had Anthony Edwards, you had Coach Kerr in that game against the Warriors, you had James Harden, you had all these guys. Yeah, man, this is not going to be an easy win against this Blazer team with the way they're playing. Everyone's picking you up defensively, up the whole court. They're getting into your chest. They're making you work. That was the narrative from the opposing locker room for the first 4 or 5 games, and that narrative is slowly dissipated, and you're not hearing it as much anymore. You had it. It was right there. Latch onto that identity. Stamp it. Stamp it home. And a great way to stamp it home would be to go into Dallas tonight, hand them their 4th straight loss, and do it without question. Get on them early, dominate the game. And again, it's the NBA, so sometimes, you're not always going to have that 24 point, beating like Houston did against you. Sometimes you're only going to win a game by 5 or 6 or 8 points or whatever it is. But even in an 8-point victory, you can dominate that whole thing the whole way. Don't leave doubt. Dominate the game, control the game, play the game that you want to play, and do it against Dallas tonight. That's what I want to see, at least. How are they going to do that? I think I'll let you know. We're going to take a quick little break. When we come back, it'll be time for our keys to the game. What do the Blazers need to do to get a victory over this injury-depleted, young Dallas Mavericks team? This is Blazers Game Day. We continue after the break on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio, 620. Welcome back into Blazers Game Day. Time now for your keys to the game. What do the Blazers need to do to pick up a victory tonight against the Dallas Mavericks? Well, we did talk a lot about defense already in this one, and you got to have the defense absolutely locked in because if you do so, it will be a very, very rough night for the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks average just 109.2 points per game. That is the fourth fewest in the NBA. But keep it in mind that right now, the lowest scoring team in the NBA is the New Orleans Pelicans at 108.4. And when Portland went into NOLA and things weren't clicking out of the gate, they were scoring in bunches. They ended the night with 117 points. They did take the loss, but they outpaced their average right there quite handily too. And if the Blazers want to win this game tonight, get the defense locked in and don't let that team go, score 10 more than their average. Show them why they're one of the worst defenses in the NBA. Make them work for it. And if you do that, you're going to put yourself in a pretty good spot right out the gate. And that's pretty much, what you want. That is what you want if you're the Portland Trail Blazers. Now, Portland though is interesting because if you look at their defense, and we've talked about it, how it has put pressure on teams and yada yada yada. It also has allowed a lot of points. The Blazers right now averaging 120.8 points against them, which is third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth most in the NBA. Team leader right now, Washington Wizards, averaging almost 130 points against them. And Dallas, for that matter, is averaging just 115 points against them. Interestingly enough, that point differential basically is what Dallas is at right now. They're averaging about 6 points fewer than their opponents. But you look at points scored against them, they're averaging about 5, 6 points scored against them fewer than the Blazers right now. So again, it looks on paper like they might match up pretty evenly, but we're talking about a 500 team versus a 3-win team that you would hope that you can come in and dominate, right? So defensively, you got to lock this in. This is not a team that you want to let out there and go score 120 points against you because I just don't know if Portland has the firepower to match that right now. Now Portland can score when the offense is running because you look at the numbers, Portland is averaging 120 points, but it all depends on the game. Because if the defense isn't getting those rebounds and they're not pushing the tempo and they aren't hitting those 3-pointers, we have seen games where this offense is just absolutely struggling, where they go out there and they shoot 15% from beyond the arc. They live and die by how good that deep shot's going to be and then how many turnovers they have. Like, this is pretty simple stuff, right? But this team truly is living by those things. So you got to make sure offensively you're out there and you're getting stuff done as well. Because if you can't hit a shot in this league, you're not going to stand a chance. Doesn't matter how many defensive stops you get. That's part of the reason when you look at the numbers that, Portland is just, oh, yeah, they get 120 points. It's because they get out in the rebounds and look at some of these games where the opponent had 80 shot attempts. Portland had 100, but they still lost the game. Got to take advantage of those things. When a team gives you the ability to go out there and score a bucket, score a bucket. Take care of it. Now, the other thing you need to do if you're Portland in this one, and this is just going to be the recipe for victories moving forward, take care of that darn basketball. That fact that game against Houston, you had 20 turnovers, and that turned into 30 points off turnovers for Houston really, really doomed you in the long run. And the fact that Houston only had 6, so your defense wasn't doing what it was supposed to. You weren't locking in. You weren't forcing turnovers, but you were giving away opportunities. Every turnover is not only like the points off turnover is a good stat to look at, but it's worse than what it looks like. Because yes, Houston had 30 points off turnovers, but in those 20 turnovers you had, that's 20 possessions that you did not even get a shot attempt up. I mean, even if you're shooting 30% on the night, like that's still 6 buckets. That's still 12 points. You are leaving opportunity out there. And when Houston only has 6 turnovers, again, that's a 14 possession difference in possessions that you did not even get a shot attempt. That's going to be hard to win basketball games. Now, Houston, when we talk about not having those turnovers, that was that big discrepancy in that field goal attempt. They had 106 field goal attempts to just 89 for Portland. Now, if you add those 14 and those turnovers are a little more consistent, than Portland is at what, 103 versus 106, and now you're in a little bit more of a spot where you are making this ball game. You just cannot turn the ball over, especially if you're Portland. Portland does not have the offensive firepower this year, or maybe they do. We just haven't seen it, but they do not have the offensive firepower to battle back from those type of situations. The offense has to be firing hot out of the gate and has to be rolling. It doesn't, like, Oklahoma City is really the only game we've seen where it was a massive struggle in the first quarter and all of a sudden the entire script flipped. That's the only thing. So you got to just go out there and just play sound basketball. I know that sounds dumb. Just don't be stupid. Just don't be stupid. Like, we have seen too much just lazy ball handling, lazy passes, little things that you can't afford to do. Now, it's going to get a little bit tougher, because there is some late breaking injury news. It was reported yesterday. Out tonight, Javante Cook, who's on the two-way deal with the G League. Scoot Henderson, Damian Lillard, Matisse Thybulle, Blake Wesley, all out with injuries. And then, of course, Young Hansen on G League assignment as well. But it was just tweeted from the Trailblazers PR account that Drew Holiday, right calf soreness, questionable for today's game. That was this morning. And he has been downgraded to out for tonight's game in Dallas. So, no Drew Holiday, which is going to be even harder now, because think about the assist numbers. He is one of the best assist men in the NBA this year. He's the best one on your team. He does not tend to turn the ball over at the same clip that Denny Avdia does. He has had nights where he's been bad. People looked at, like, the Orlando game where he had 3 turnovers. They're all in the fourth quarter. He wasn't the reason they lost. But without your point guard, now it's going to be a massive struggle, because the biggest issue for this team has been who's the backup guy, because you lose any semblance of your half court offense when Drew Holiday is out. Well, guess what? Now he's out the whole game. So you don't even have your backup point guard to put in. Who's it going to be? We'll see if there's an update to the starting lineup here. I haven't seen one. I'm sure Chad Doing will have one by the time the pregame show is wrapped up. He's waiting at Studio C. He'll take over in about 7 minutes. But this is a situation that obviously Denny's going to have that role. And so who put it? Checkered Pass put it in the YouTube chat that, Rupert needs to step up. Now, Rupert was talked about being built in that Nick Batum mold, and Nick Batum has made a hell of a career out of being a point forward. Maybe it is time to see what you got in Roops at that position. Do you put the ball in Tumani Kamara's hand a little bit and run a slower offense, but give him, he gets the Scottie Pippen comp, right? Well, Scottie Pippen was that point forward too. So you have a couple guys you can experiment with, but it's definitely going to hurt not having a point guard, a true point guard to rely upon in a game like this. So I think it's even more important now, some of the things we talked about. Shaden Sharp being aggressive, getting to the basket, getting points. Denny Avdia, even more important tonight, to not be sloppy with the basketball, because the ball is going to be put in your hand just a little bit more than normal with no Drew Holiday. So all the things we said, not turn the ball over, giving the other team free possessions, being aggressive and getting to the basket, getting your points, all of that is going to be just a little bit harder tonight with no Drew Holiday. Shows you how important he's been to the Trailblazers. But I do think it's, just about time to get out of here, isn't it? Got to wrap it up, and we will do so. But don't go anywhere, because coming up next, you got the Trailblazers pregame show with Chad Doing. He's going to get you ready for this game. He's at Studio C waiting to go. And then, of course, tip-off at 4:30. What a weird time. I know it's throwing everyone off. Travis Demers on the call. And when it's all over, head right back here for the fifth quarter, where hopefully, friends, we're breaking down a Trailblazers victory. Once again, Blazers taking on the Dallas Mavericks. And it's coming up next on Rip City Radio 620.